The camera was never meant to catch anything unusual. It wasn't installed for mystery or suspicion. It was there because of a missing package. A small cardboard box that vanished from a front porch one quiet afternoon. No alarms, no broken locks, just gone. That was enough for the homeowner to mount a cheap security camera above the door, thinking it would capture a thief or maybe a raccoon. What it captured instead would unravel something far darker, something no one on that street was prepared to see. At first, life on the block felt ordinary. A neat suburban street, trimmed hedges, familiar faces. People waved as they passed. Kids rode bikes in circles until the streetlights came on. It was the kind of place where nothing ever happened, and that was exactly how the neighbors liked it. But there was one house people quietly avoided. The house itself didn't look dangerous. Beige siding, clean driveway, curtains always drawn. The couple who lived there were polite, but distant. They didn't attend block parties. They didn't complain. They didn't socialize. They simply existed, blending into the background, like furniture no one bothered to move. Over time, small things began to feel off. Late at night, some neighbors noticed movement in the backyard. Not loud enough to call the police, not strange enough to confront, just shadows crossing the fence line. Sometimes there were sounds, metal scraping, something heavy being dragged, but always too brief to prove anything. One neighbor thought they heard crying once. Another thought it was a TV. No one wanted to be wrong. Weeks passed, then months, and then the camera footage began to pile up. The homeowner, checking recordings occasionally, noticed something odd. Every night around the same time, 2:17 a.m., the neighbor across the street would step outside, always wearing the same dark hoodie, always glancing left, then right, before walking toward the side yard. The camera didn't cover much beyond that angle, so at first it felt insignificant. Maybe insomnia, maybe a smoke break, but it happened every night. Same time, same routine. Then one night, something changed. At 2:17 a.m., the man walked out. But this time he wasn't alone. Behind him, partially obscured by shadow, was someone else. Smaller, barefoot, moving slowly. The camera caught just 3 seconds of it, before they disappeared out of frame. The homeowner replayed it again and again. 3 seconds, no sound, no clear faces. Still, something about it felt wrong. The next morning, they mentioned it casually to another neighbor. Not accusingly, just a comment. "Hey, have you noticed anything weird lately?" The response was hesitant, but telling. That neighbor admitted they had too. Strange noises, lights flicking on and off at night, trash bags being taken out at odd hours, bags that were unusually heavy. Now it wasn't just one person noticing. A few days later, the camera captured something that erased all doubt. At 2:17 a.m., the back gate of the house opened. The man appeared again, dragging something long and wrapped tightly in what looked like a tarp. It scraped against the concrete, leaving a dark streak behind. He struggled, adjusted his grip, and then paused, staring directly toward the camera. For a moment, it felt like he knew. Then he continued, pulling the object out of view. The homeowner didn't sleep that night. By morning, the footage had been copied, backed up, and shared with a trusted friend. Neither of them wanted to jump to conclusions, but they couldn't ignore what they'd seen. This wasn't normal behavior. This wasn't a misunderstanding. They decided to watch more footage before calling authorities. That decision would haunt them. Over the next week, the recordings revealed a pattern. Not just the man, but the woman too. Sometimes she stood watch while he worked in the yard late at night. Sometimes she carried buckets to the back shed. Once the camera caught her washing something off her hands with a hose for nearly 10 minutes, long after the water running was enough to draw attention. Then came the sounds. At night, the microphone picked up muffled noises. Not loud, not screams, more like thumps. Rhythmic, repeated, followed by silence. On one clip, a faint voice could be heard. "Please." That was enough. The homeowner contacted the police and handed over everything. Officers arrived quietly, unmarked vehicles parking a block away. They didn't want to alert the neighbors. They didn't want to scare anyone, but the moment they knocked on the door of that house, something felt wrong. No answer. They knocked again. Still nothing. Then they heard movement inside, a crash, and suddenly the back door burst open. The man ran. Officers chased him through yards, over fences, until he tripped and fell face first into the grass. He didn't resist. He didn't scream. He just lay there, breathing heavily, whispering something over and over. It wasn't supposed to be recorded. Inside the house, officers found the woman sitting on the living room floor, unmoving, staring at the wall. She didn't react when they spoke to her. She didn't ask questions. She just kept repeating one sentence. They weren't supposed to look. What they found in the backyard would turn this quiet neighborhood into a crime scene for months. Behind the shed, freshly disturbed soil, uneven patches of grass, a smell that no one on that street had ever experienced before. And when they began digging, they realized the camera hadn't just caught suspicious behavior. It had captured the aftermath. The digging didn't take long. Within minutes, officers uncovered the first piece of evidence that confirmed everyone's worst fear. A torn strip of fabric, buried just beneath the surface, still damp. As they continued, the smell intensified, forcing some officers to step back. Then a shovel struck something solid. Not a rock, not wood, something unmistakably human. The backyard became silent. By sunrise, the entire street was blocked off with tape. Neighbors stood behind windows watching in disbelief as forensic teams arrived. The quiet neighborhood that once felt safe now felt exposed, like a secret had been hiding in plain sight all along. By the end of the day, investigators had recovered multiple bodies, not just one. Each burial site was shallow, rushed, and uneven, suggesting panic rather than planning. But what chilled detectives wasn't just the number, it was the timeline. Based on decomposition, these burials hadn't happened all at once. They spanned months, maybe longer. This wasn't a single act of violence, it was a routine. Inside the shed, officers found tools neatly arranged on the wall, cleaning supplies, heavy-duty trash bags, rope, a notebook sealed in a plastic bag. Inside were dates, times, and short phrases. Not names, just observations. Didn't scream. Watched the door. Too trusting. Each line matched the nights captured on camera. The footage became crucial. Frame by frame, investigators traced movements, patterns, and behaviors. They realized the couple had been using blind spots, but the one camera, installed for something as small as a missing package, had captured just enough. When police examined missing persons reports, the connection became horrifyingly clear. People who had vanished within walking distance of that house. People last seen asking for directions. People new to the area. Drifters. Delivery workers. Someone looking for help. People who trusted the wrong door. During interrogation, the man finally spoke. He said it started as curiosity. He claimed he liked observing people, learning habits, routines, weaknesses. He described it the way someone might describe a hobby. Calm, detached, as if he were talking about gardening. He admitted they never planned to kill at first. They just wanted to watch fear, to see how people reacted when they realized something was wrong. The woman barely spoke at all. When she did, her voice was flat, emotionless. She described her role as support, watching, cleaning, standing guard. She said she never questioned what they were doing, because, in her words, it felt normal after a while. That sentence would later be repeated in documentaries and court transcripts, sending chills through anyone who heard it. Psychologists who reviewed the case said the couple fed off each other. One initiated, the other reinforced. Together, they created a closed world where violence wasn't just accepted, it was justified. The camera footage was played during the trial. Jurors watched in silence as those late-night routines unfolded on a screen. The glances, the dragging, the moments where the man paused, almost as if listening for the camera to move. Some jurors later admitted they had to look away. One clip in particular changed everything. It was from a night when the audio had picked up a voice saying, "Please." Enhanced and slowed, investigators realized it wasn't coming from outside. It was coming from inside the house. Through an open window, The camera hadn't just captured what happened after, it captured what happened during. The defense argued coincidence, misinterpretation. They claimed the footage didn't prove murder. But when combined with the physical evidence, the notebook, and the bodies, there was no escaping the truth. Both were sentenced to life in prison without parole. The house was demolished months later. But even after the case closed, the neighborhood never returned to normal. Families moved away. Kids stopped playing outside after dark. New residents avoided asking questions. But everyone knew, all because of a camera that wasn't meant to see anything at all. The homeowner who installed it still lives there. They say they check their footage every night. Not because they expect to see something, but because they're afraid of what might happen if no one is watching. Because sometimes the most dangerous secrets aren't hidden in shadows. They're hiding right across the street.